Hello, my name is Lee Presser. This is my show. I speak frequently to very interesting people. Some of these conversations are so exciting, so intellectually stimulating, I thought others might like to listen in. This is the reason we started recording Conversation with Lee Presser. Welcome to Conversation with Lee Presser. About 32% of Missouri's population lives within the St. Louis area of the Missouri Department of Transportation, MoDOT. That means that Ed Hassinger, the St. Louis area district engineer, is responsible for the state and interstate highways regularly used by about a third of the people in Missouri. Now, Mr. Hassinger and his team are responsible to the driving public for maintaining more than 1,500 miles of the most critical roads in our area. What most people do not understand is that roads are like teeth. They must be maintained regularly or they'll start to rot. If a road misses its regular maintenance by as little as 2 or 3 years, the cost of that maintenance, when it is finally performed, will increase by 50 to 100% over what it would have cost if it had been done on time. Money is critical to Mr. Hassinger's ability to do his job for us. Missouri's ability to provide enough money for the purpose of is shrinking. And today we're going to talk about the nuts and bolts of running the highway system. Ed Hassinger, welcome to Conversation.
Good to be here.
Do you agree with what I just said there?
It's true. We got to keep up with maintenance or things go south in a hurry.
So let's just check off a few check marks here. It takes about how much per year for MoDOT across the state to maintain what they've got?
Well, we say that about $600 million would do a good job of maintaining roads in a good condition that we would like to see.
This is, when you say maintaining, you're not doing everything to every road every year.
No, that would keep about 85% of our major highways in good condition and about 70% of our more minor highways in good condition. And really what you want to do is make sure you get the full life out of something so you're not spending money on something you don't need to. So we feel that at 85%, you're getting the full stretch of life, and some of those roads go to fair, and then it's time to start planning the work before they go to poor. Mm-hmm. And if you don't do that, then you'll get a lot more in that fair and poor range, and the public will tell you about it.
Not that many years ago, you had a lot more roads that were in the fair and poor range, and a lot that were in the poor range. What changed? How is it that Missouri has come up so well in the last few years?
Well, I think it's a couple of things. We made a commitment that we were going to get our major roads in good condition, and the vehicle that allowed us to do that was Amendment 3. So the voters of Missouri said we want to take half of the sales tax on cars that was going somewhere else in the state budget and dedicate that to roads. So over the last 5 years, we've made that concerted effort, and the number one part of Amendment 3 was we were going to get our major roads in good condition, and that was our program to do that.
So it cost you more than $600 million a year then in order to catch up with some of these roads that were already in really bad shape.
Yeah, we basically put aside almost $400 million out of that Amendment 3 funding in addition to the year in, year out spending that we had been doing that kind of made us catch up for the deferred maintenance that we hadn't done over the years. Mm-hmm.
Deferred maintenance, that's what it's called, isn't it? When a road is supposed to be, and people may or may not have seen, you've got these huge grinder machines, right? They go out on the interstates or on the other major highways, and you grind off the surface of the concrete, right?
Yeah, we've got several strategies we use, but we either resurface it with asphalt. Sometimes we'll grind off the concrete to make it smooth if it's in good enough shape. But basically the public judges our performance by the seat of their pants. When they drive in their car, yeah. That's how they judge our performance. Right. And right now our performance is about 86% of the major roads in Missouri are in good condition. 5 years ago, that number was like 45%.
Right.
So we've made a huge move. Now we still have some work to do on the minor roads in the state of Missouri, which is a huge issue for us too. But we're trying to address the roads where the majority of the people drive. And right now, over 85% of the actual vehicle miles traveled are traveled on the roads that we have in good condition. Mm-hmm.
How long would it take for these good condition roads to return to the fair and poor?
Well, we've been looking at that because our funding is quickly leaving, and we're going to be in that situation if we don't do something. And they will get bad, and they'll get bad, and it won't be overnight. But if you don't do that maintenance year in and year out,
how long?
5
years?
In 5 years, there'll be a noticeable difference.
Okay.
If we don't do it in 10 years, we will quickly be back to where we were with probably 50% of our roads in good condition.
Mm-hmm. Funding mechanisms. How is this money accumulated that you use to maintain roads?
Well, we get revenue from three places only. We have a cent per cent a gallon gas tax, 17 cents state,
so every time
18
someone puts
cents
in
federal.
Every time someone puts gas in their car, you're getting a penny every time they get a gallon. Is that?
No, we're getting 17 cents of state gas tax for every gallon and 18 cents of federal.
But you get that?
It doesn't. Yes, we do.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't make any difference of how much gas costs, regardless if it's $4 a gallon or $2 a gallon. And some of that goes to local roads, so MoDOT doesn't get all of it, but
Okay.
it all goes to transportation.
All right, so that's one source.
Now we get all of the sales tax when people buy an automobile in Missouri, and then we get the license and tag fees. So those are the only three places that MoDOT gets money for. And what I tell people is all of them are either a declining revenue source right now or are fairly level. And that hadn't been the case in the past. Our gas tax revenue always dramatically increased year after year because people drove more, there were more cars being bought. So we had a good situation, but as the world is changing, these revenue sources are not the revenue sources of the future that will support us.
So as cars get 30 and maybe 40 miles to the gallon, that means they're going to be using less gasoline, which means you're getting less cents from each gallon of gasoline because they're not using as many.
Yeah, right now I tell people for MoDOT, selfishly, we'd like everybody to drive a big four-wheel drive pickup that costs $50,000 and gets 10 miles a gallon. But right now, that's not what people are buying. They're buying small economy cars that don't cost a lot of money, so we don't get a lot of sales tax, and they get 35 miles a gallon. And we know that's a selfish thing that I say, but it just kind of illustrates the point.
Well, that's where you get your money. Now, of course, now we're just talking about just maintaining what we've got, but that isn't the whole story. People want other roads, don't they?
Sure. I mean, there's issues, areas with congestion. There's a lot of ties between transportation and economic development. So there's a lot of wants and needs for better interchanges, for we're proposing to add truck lanes across the state of Missouri that would be the next revolution of the interstate system. All those things are either tied to economic development or, around here, a lot of it's congestion relief. And people want those things.
Let's start with one new project that you're working on. There is a desire, and I guess you're actually moving forward on this now, to tie Interstate 70 through the Earth City Expressway to Missouri 141. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Why?
Why
are we doing that?
Well, we call it 141. Over the past 30 years, we have worked to get an expressway that actually goes all the way from 55, and we've been continuously working on that, and it basically stops and turns into a 2-lane road at Highway 64 right now. This would connect it completely all the way from 70 and really to 370 through the Earth City area, so that we'll have another connection. Because one of the things in St. Louis, we've got a lot of great east-west spoke roads. We don't have a lot of north-south connectors if you really think about it. This would be another opportunity to connect our region north and south and tie our major interstates together. So
if somebody's coming east on 70, say from Kansas City or whatever, they don't have to go all the way down to 270 if they want to get to 55. Now, with this new road, when it's completed, they'll be able to get off of 70 at the Earth City Expressway?
At the Maryland Heights Expressway, and
then
go south
there, and then eventually they will go past Page, past Olive, and then from Olive there'll be this connection that you're building that goes over to where where 141 currently exists
Right.
by 64.